So tell me where to stand. Is this the right spot to
That's right.
stand
Now,
in?
do you want me to show some of your
Yeah, I'll
exhibits?
let
Okay.
you do that.
All right.
So this refrigeration gig that I'm in now, I started back in 2006. I was part of a family business for 30 years. I went outside and called on hairdressers. So all I've ever done is I took the hair business, dropped the H, and went to the air business. So that's my claim to fame right there. But I spent time at night going to school, refrigeration school. That's what the course is. 2 years learning this profession. Went to work for a gentleman named McLaurine-Refrigeration at Top Quality Service for 5 years. It was probably the best 5 years of training I ever got in, because Dwayne was a teacher at Batterite. So I got premium training beforehand. And once I got out into the field, 2012 till now, I came up with this thing where I was going to all these service calls, and it was like, man, if they would only have called me 60 days ago, we could have stopped this from happening. So when I got into B&I back in 2016 and met phenomenal people like Lynn and Joe and Bradley Harris, for example, you know, and Tammy, it was all about branding and getting my name out there and my word out there. So I came up with a brochure that I've left with you guys, and it's about the 5 things. There's 5 problems. There's 5 situations in air conditioning that go on simultaneously. And these situations, if they're not addressed, they'll create a domino effect and they'll take the air conditioning down. And I want to talk to you just real quickly about this. It rolls off the tip of my tongue just like water now. Airflow, condensation, electrical, environmental, and refrigeration. All of these matter because they're all going on at the same time. So for example, airflow, I've got a chart on the wall over there that will explain about what has to happen with airflow. Condensation is another thing. I create a little, we're going to pretend today, pretend this is a furnace, pretend this is a coil. But don't pretend that I can come out to where you're located and I can foolproof your air conditioning system. Condensation problems should never happen. And the reason why they should never happen is because the industry has built controls that I can put on the drain pan, on the drain line, all the way up to the coil with what we call a freeze step. And it will shut down the outdoor unit when the water starts rising, okay? So that's what's phenomenal about this. I call it foolproofing an air conditioning system. One of the worst service calls I get is someone that's got water coming through a ceiling in a building. Why? Because there's no money in it for me. It's a big insurance issue for the insurance companies to fix. And the homeowner has to go through the stress of hiring people to fix the sheetrock, to repaint, all of that. It never has to happen. Call me and we'll do this to your system. Whether your system's like that or whether the system is laying down, it all works. We can make it work for your system. Electrical issues are pretty self-explanatory. An air-conditioned system is the highest demand appliance that you own in your building or your home or whatever. It creates more energy. It burns through wires, burns through connections, burns up parts. So when we do our preventative maintenance, that's step number 3. We go out there and we check all that. Step number 4 that I want to talk about is environmental. Environmental is going to happen. It's just something that's going to happen. Life happens. Environmental happens. Pollen, trees, bugs. All this falls into place right there. So we go out there and we clean up the mess to keep these systems right here from overamping and going out. And as far as the refrigeration goes, refrigeration is a big thing nowadays because there's a big change going on in the refrigeration world. The old R22 is finally going out. This is probably the last year or 2 that you're probably going to see it. There's going to be guys that are still going to have it. I'm still going to have it. I'm going to save it for the real expensive equipments that are up on the big buildings, the 10 and the 20 ton units I wanted to put the right thing back in it, but for residential air conditioners at home, I've done picked up generic products that are gonna work. But now there's a timeline, and I've got this information that I can share with everyone. Here's the basic thing to know. January 1st, 2023, the Department of Energy has set a standard that 15 SEER will become the next standard in industry. Right now it's 14 SEER. What does that mean? It means a lot, because the new furnaces now must meet a static pressure, and static pressure involves the amount of pressure that's inside a pipe or a piece of ductwork. If it's leaky ductwork, the fan motor will slow down. You could have freezing up in a coil. Okay, so we're going to be addressing a lot of ductwork issues to get this new equipment to work properly. 2 years later, 2025, the stuff that I was putting in the OR22 systems, which are everywhere. I mean, 50% of the air conditioners I'm still seeing are old air conditioners that require R22, because that's what the compressors will only operate on, are those pressure. So the products that are out there on the marketplace that I've got on my refrigeration choices right now, they're going to cut them out completely. So you could thank the EPA for that. The EPA is looking at changing refrigeration where the global warming potential is something in the industry that they're looking at environmentally, has to meet a regulation of 750 parts per million or less during that time. So the products that I'm using on my truck right now, they're not going to produce them after that period of time. There's already going to be generics coming out on the market that we'll have to start using that will be less than that, and we'll just have to go to that. And then by 2030, we're thinking that the Department of Energy is going to turn again, and that's where I'm going to talk to you today about the future of air conditioning. The outdoor air conditioners that you own right now are not going to look anything like the air conditioner 7 years from now. It'll be a dinosaur. Why is that? Because it just pulls too much energy. They're going to make air conditioners that will reach like 19 and 20 SEER. There's versions of them right now. If you've ever heard of anybody that owns a ductless mini system, it's an evaporator head that's mounted on the wall, and there's a little rectangle type unit that you can barely hear outside. Those units will produce 17 to 24 SEER right now. And the air conditioners that are going to be built in 3, 4, and 5 ton, the big units, so it'll just be bigger versions of them. That's coming around the pipe. We will be installing those outside. Why is that so? Because they're trying to cut electrical costs for the average consumer. They figured out a way to make that type of unit communicate and work with the indoor unit now. So I'm starting to see air handlers and heat pumps. Anybody ever heard of a heat pump? All a heat pump is a condenser with a compressor inside of it, with a valve in there that will make air conditioning work in reverse. It sends the hot gas that's created inside the compressor through the indoor coil in the wintertime. So that's how we make heat for the house. Anyone that's lived in Florida knows all about heat pumps, or around the Gulf Coast. But electricity is 100% efficient, and that's why the government is going to it. There's a big push right now to get away from your steel vented furnaces. Those are 80% furnaces. I am a gas person myself. I love gas furnaces. I think there's certain applications in houses that do not meet what we call heat loads that we can really deal with. The older houses, I have to work with consumers and get them to insulate better windows, better doors and stuff like that to meet the standards that you could put the 19 SEER equipment in and get your value, because it won't come cheap. You know, it'll be a one-time investment. I'm looking at talking to different companies that will help us finance these into the houses, but I'll become one of the first that will do this in a 70-year-old house that I live in, where we're going to go to a 90+ furnace. That's PVC venting, recycles the heat inside the chamber so many times till it turns into water, and the furnace actually has a drain line. That will be something that I will install, and along with the ductless system, because if I'm gonna sell it, I gotta be able to be a proponent of it and say, hey, it works or it don't work. So I'll become one of the first people to do that on a 5-ton system. These items are now starting to hit the supply houses, and we're very happy to learn more about it. I'll get training on them, and it's just become the future of air conditioning. Anybody have any questions about any of the information? I've thrown a lot of information at you real fast.
I have one question, Mark. In new construction, are the builders required to put a certain specific system? I mean, is it 16 or what?
No, they're not required to put anything in particular. I did houses just this past year down at the Village of Strathmore, which is right at Bailey Station in Poplar. These are encapsulated houses where they're going in, they're spraying 2 inches of foam everywhere on the roof lines, outside walls. I can tell you those type of houses, you can walk in the attic and there's only a 1 degree difference between the house and the attic. So I've been able to put 1 5-ton. Joe, do we have our pictures? Do we have our photos that we can put up?
Sure, which ones do you want?
All right, well, we'll just start with this one right here. The worst service call I get is when a system's froze up. The reason why is I get out there, there's nothing I can do except turn on the furnace, thaw the system out so we can recharge the system. All right, let's go with another one right here. Can you forward it?
There's one that's frozen up. Can you see that? Oh,
Yeah,
it
the
is.
ice on the line right
Oh, wait a
here.
minute, it's not doing it. Hang on,
Is
this
it
is
not going forward?
I'm having a little,
What causes that to freeze, Mark?
What causes it is that the compressor has no idea that there's a loss of refrigerant in the system. When the pressure and temperature have a relationship in refrigeration. So when the pressure gets pulled down below 30 degrees in the system, and I can show you that on a gauge, it will start literally building ice on the line, all the way from the evaporator coil inside the building, all the way to the outdoor unit around the shell of the compressor. And the unit will actually get noisier. So, and the people will start getting warmer. They'll say, hey, I don't feel no air, because when the evaporator coil gets covered in a sheet of ice, the fan motor can't blow through it.
Okay.
So all I can do is tell people, turn your system fan on, system off. Give it about an hour or two, and then we come out and we can address recharging it or whatever.
So you're just thawing it out.
Right, absolutely. Can also happen from the fan motor literally quitting, or a relay that tells the fan motor to come on quitting. All it takes is 2 or 3 minutes of no airflow, and the compressor outside will still pump. That's why I built this. The freeze stat on the coil will shut the system down and not allow that to happen. Not a good idea to let vegetation grow around your outdoor unit. That was one that me and Eddie went to. Eddie Rushing, my helper in the back. We went out there and this house wouldn't get down below 78 degrees. That was the reason why. Plus, I'll show you another filter that we pulled out of the house. This is a unit I put on top of marble slab out in Germantown Collection. This is a unit we went to about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I put up a pictorial online. A dirty condenser pool is like putting a blanket around an outdoor air conditioner. It just won't allow it to expel the heat. So you want to keep that coil clean. So any coil clean, because we're picking up heat and we're moving it to a place where we don't want it, which is outdoors. So it's picking up indoors. All right. There was a system put in with no filter rack. I'm gonna go out there and fix that. Yeah, unfortunately, there's people out there that do work like that, and I see it all the time. I see a lot of weekend warriors, a lot of 2 men in a pickup truck that'll do stuff just to make a buck. What I'm trying to teach Eddie is that we do quality work at Refrigeration Unlimited. If you want to give me a referral to someone to go out and give a bid, please do that, because I'm gonna tell that person when they ask me why they should hire me, I'm gonna tell them, sir or ma'am, my price is my price, but what I choose to throw in it money-wise will be my decision. And I generally will throw more money at a job because I'm taking pictures afterwards and I'm posting them. And I want to people to see the quality of work that we do. Yes,
So do all outside air conditioners have a filter area or are they?
no, that's a package unit with ductwork under a house,
Okay,
but it had no provision of a ductwork. This is actually a house that was owned by a BNI member in the Arlington chapter. When I went out and figured that out, they were having another issue. It's just, I opened the door and I said, oh my gosh, there's no filter access in here. Okay.
Mark,
Dirty
this-
filters, I see that all the time. Dirty filters, just, that will freeze the system up right there because you're cutting 3 tons of air down to about 1.5 tons. And it just chokes the system down and the pressures fall out in the refrigeration side and the ice starts forming.
So what's a good rule of thumb? How often do you need to replace those?
You know, on a thermostat, it'll say every 2,000 hours. You know what that calculates to?
No.
Every 90 days,
Okay.
4 times a year. You'll get the little filter alert on a thermostat. So
Okay.
let's just say every 90 days.
4 times.
Okay. This one right here, this is a 30-year-old unit, train unit that one of my customers owns. And I have a preference for train. It's just the best outdoor unit that was ever built. And it has to be, a reason why is that for us old timers, we remember the Christmas trees back in the 60s that were made out of aluminum. It's got that type of core. And Train's the only company that can build that. They got a patent on that. So it's like little prongs that go out. The dirt falls into the prongs. The tip still will be able to do heat, what we call heat transfer.
Mhm.
That's what makes that unit better. Okay, this, can't remember what this one was actually here. Maybe we'll go past another one. This is that was a furnace of a gentleman, 27-year-old carrier, is 85 years old. He calls me every spring and fall, has done it for 10 years. I can probably keep that furnace going another 10 years. Preventive maintenance is the key to any kind of success that you're going to have with an HVAC system. Okay. This is at my house. I was doing my spring maintenance check on my unit. I've got ductwork underneath the house. I was checking the air out. So I was getting 48-degree air out the vent. It was about 78 degrees outside. So that's what I look for, is try to make a 30-degree difference. If it's 75 outside, we'll come inside and make your house about 50 degrees, because it's really about a 15-degree spread when you're talking to these home inspectors. They're looking for something returning 75 and putting out 60. If it's only putting out 65, they're going to highlight it on their report. It ain't getting cool enough, because it takes about a 15-degree spread to drop a thermostat 1 degree about every 20 minutes.
Mark, this is Troy McDonald. Can you bring us up to date? I know we're a fan of what you do out there as far as what you suggest are maintenance for customers to have, where you see them on a regular basis when they do have the repair problems they face. I know we have that repair thing where you come out on a regular basis. Would you cover
Okay,
that?
yeah, the spring is the biggest one, Troy, because we go out there, me and Eddie, and we address the 5 things that take an air conditioner down, because we don't want to see that person. Hopefully, again, 80% of the time that we're making service calls in June, July, and August are the people that never called us in March, April, or May. And only 70% of the time, we never go back to those people. It's generally people that have what I call aged equipment that's 15 to 20 years old, because I equate myself to the old doctor that's on the horseback back 150 years ago. I'm making my rounds to all, and I'm dealing with all the sick and the elderly that just happen to be air conditioners. But I fix them back up. Every now and then we have a birth where we go out there and we'll put a new system in. Hey, it's a new baby, you know? So that's how I live my day every day, is that I'm going around and I'm addressing all these problems. All these are my children, you know, I take care of them. Future of air conditioning, this is it right there. As you can see, it's got 2 motherboards in there. So the new air conditioners are going to communicate with the indoor unit saying, hey, I see the humidity's down in there, so I'm going to slow back down. The humidity goes up, we start opening a bunch of doors. That unit right there will ramp up. That particular compressor, some of the technology that's coming out of Asia is just amazing because these units have been in Europe and Asia for 20 years because everybody lives in a high rise in those parts of the world. So these particular units, these compressors have 700 cycles. They can ramp up and they can ramp back down. Your air conditioned home is not doing that. Okay. That's the new 19-series indoor heat pump fan coil. As you can see, it's got two motherboards right there. One's to run the inside, one's to communicate with the outdoor unit. So think about it as an air conditioner now with a cruise control. It can make more air on a very hot day or less air on less of one. That's how big the units are going to be. They won't be as big as what you got, but they're narrow and they're wider and they're totally quiet. They're going to be the greatest thing in the world when air conditioned piping is set right outside the master bedroom and you don't want to hear it come on. This will become the new thing.
Is that a standard unit or is that the ductless?
Well, that's a ductless design, but it's going to start going with the new equipment that's inside the house. They figured out how to do it. Taylor.
Gotcha.
That's the gas furnace that's 90%. So what this is we draw in outside air, we draw, we got outside air, we got drain lines that come off of it because what it's doing is it's recycling the heat inside the chamber so many times because a flame turns into water once it's cooled down. So we're draining water off the system, but you're getting, some of these furnaces are 96% efficient. So this is the way to go with a gas furnace. That's a 5-ton unit I put in Collierville House just a few weeks ago. 14 SEER is the standard right now. I talked to Train yesterday so I could give an update. They believe that they're going to have 14 SEER equipment all the way through the end of the year. So you still got a lot of time.
What's the term SEER mean?
That's
SEER
what I was
is-
gonna say. How many people know what SEER means?
SEER is seasonal energy efficiency rating. And it's created by an organization called ASHRAE, which organizes over our business to satisfy the EPAs and the Department of Energies of our government. Okay. That's a Train brand right there that if you got somebody that's on a budget, this is great equipment. We've installed a double system this was your guy out there in Bartlett that you gave me the referral
Oh,
on.
yeah, off the radio, yeah.
Sylvester Prince, right?
Well, we can't say any names.
I'm sorry.
Great. Now
I blew it.
I'm
I blew
gonna
it.
edit that out.
Edit that out.
Thank you.
Tyler.
Thank you for that.
Sorry about that. All right, let's go to another one. Yeah, this is the timeline, the regulatory timeline. 2023, the new M1 test for the ductwork, 15 SEER, 750 less than global warming potential will come in, but by 2025, the HFCs, that stands for your refrigerants that have got the ingredients in there that they have deemed to be damaging to the environment. Okay, this all started 20 years ago at a conference in Montreal where you had a scientist that got up there and said the chlorine atom in R22 is destroying the ozone. And what happened was the Department of Energy and the EPA came back to America and said, hey, guess what? In 20 years, we're getting rid of this. But they're also getting rid of R134, which is in our cars and our refrigerators. There will just be other refrigerants that will come along the pipe that won't do damage. This is Frankenstein here. This is the unit that I put in the house in the village of Strathmore. It's a 5-ton system that has 3 zones, 3 thermostats, and it is properly heating and cooling over 3,000 square feet in that house. It took me a while to sit down and figure out the ductwork design to make it work out. But me and Eddie did have to go back out there last Wednesday. We had 2 little ducts that one was producing too much and too little, and we went in there and built some dampers in to make it do right. But as far as I know, that we're one of the houses out there that they're satisfied with because a lot of the builders literally went too small on some of the ductwork. But as you can see in the background, that's spray foam on the roof line. And when you walk in that attic, you walk out of the hallway, hallway 72, 73 degrees upstairs. Walk into the attic, it's 75 and 90 everywhere. So it's just a new way of building. That's a ductless system that I put on the gentleman's garage. He wanted to have, he didn't want the cars hot. So we put in a ductless system for that. And that's how little the little 12,000 units are. Okay.
3 minutes.
Yep. That's one I put in Germantown. The lady had a curio
Oops, sorry.
cabinet. They had a lot of delicates that they had, and they wanted to keep it temperature control, so we put that in there. That's the unit, how the unit goes out
Sorry,
back.
Sorry.
Comes out the wall just like a regular air conditioner. We pipe it in. It's got a drain line that comes in. All the electricity is controlled from the outdoor unit. It just tells the inside unit what to do. You got a remote control to turn it on and off. They're great for where you can't put ductwork. That's Halley Park out there. I do a lot of work with David Halley now, and when he builds business parks and stuff like that. And we put that in there for Century Car Wash. They did a new building and we did all the duct work. And I like doing new construction. There's no money in it, but it keeps my guys busy. And it educates me about heat loads and things in new construction. So if you got a new construction project or want me to bid on a new house, I'll be more than happy to do it. Let's do another one. That's ductwork. Ductwork should be built like an interstate. Where there's an exit, you go down 2 inches. Why? You keep the velocity of the air from the beginning to the end the same. You want that room at the end to stay cool or stay warm. The only way to do it is make straight runs. This was actually a house that me and Eddie went into and we fixed out in that subdivision because the ductwork was probably done by some 20-year-olds and they had it going like a roller coaster. You can shoot air up once and it can fall once, but it ain't gonna shoot up the second time. So you got to straighten all the ductwork runs out. I love commercial. This is Magnolia Cemetery in Collierville, which is up off of South Street in that general area, Quinn Road in that area. They took an old building that they wanted to have as a meeting area for people that were having these after services. And that's what we did. We went in there and put the ductwork, the heat pumps and everything in because they had no gas out there. Thank you very much. We have this item here now. We're gonna have to pass the hat because I'm giving this
Sure,
away.
you go ahead and take care of that.
Okay.
I have a question. Air conditioner we can put in now that will still work.